Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Pixar's Wall-E. This is the 2008 classic. It's an unconventional classic. It's not only an hour and 40 minutes long, which I just got to tell you, but it is a rated G robot romance set in the post-apocalyptic Earth. Yeah, yeah, that's a thing that Pixar made. If you're gonna do, their first, I don't know if it's their I mean, there's romance in each of their films to a certain degree, But in this case, it's very much kind of front and center. It's using unconventional characters, robots. One of which is Wally, who is basically just a junker. He's a guy who He's a robot. He's a tiny little robot. Probably one of the last on Earth many centuries after humanity has left the planet, and his job is to clean it up. Basically, take garbage, crush it into a block, and stack it somewhere for somebody else to take away. Well, he did his part. Everything else on the planet pretty much failed, and along the way, he sort of acquired a personality. I think all the robots technically do in this. I'm not sure who programmed them. I'm not sure if it's like I never understood where C-3PO got his personality, or R2D2 in Star Wars. Um, Remind me to come back to that in a second. But they certainly have personalities, and why would you make C-3PO a fussy droid and R2 kind of a smartass, do it all kind of machine, rather than just go by their programming? Well, this is very much, about creatures of habit, creatures sticking to their programming, but when there is nobody left to oversee them, well, Wally really sort of comes into his own, and he has a friend who's literally a cockroach, and everything is just always the same. He collects souvenirs, uh, almost in a human type way. He's very much, except for his cockroach friend, all alone in what was the planet Earth, until suddenly a spaceship arrives and something completely unexpected steps out of their steps and changes his world. He understands from watching old movies and musicals on his on an iPod. Yeah, on an iPod. He discovers what it must be to fall in love. So, yeah, it's of course, I'm not going to tell you the whole story. If you haven't seen it already, well, that is certainly your loss. But it's about time you got around to seeing this, because while many people consider, for myself, I just thought, man, this is going to be a really hard sell, because a majority of the film, at least until I watched it again just now, is has no dialogue. Technically, it's the characters express themselves in human language-like noises. Um, for a while, it's just Wally and the cockroach just chittering back and forth, and then when Eve shows up, well, yeah, I'm not going to really ruin anything by telling you about Eve, uh, the robot that steals his robot heart. When ostensibly she shows up, well, guess what? It's it's they form an even broader sense of language, in a sense, between the two of them, where you get to hear words, actual words, for the first time. And but the thing is, I was mistaken in thinking this is a mostly wordless romantic animated film, that in some cases some people might consider slow. It is not. It Things actually keep moving through this, and um, yes, we get to see what happened to the humans, and they speak clear English, at least in the original version. It's all different languages when it was released around the world. So yeah, um, there's. I mean, by the way, speaking of which, the voices: Jeff Garlin plays the captain of his ship. We have Fred Willard, who plays the president of B&L. B&L, I'll get back to that in a minute. But of course, John Ratzenberger is in this. He's the lucky charm in nearly all Pixar films. He has a voice in every single one of them. He plays John, to stretch, and Kathy Najimy from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. She's in this, and also Hocus Pocus, right? No? No, I don't know. Yeah, either way, doesn't matter. Oh, and Sigourney Weaver plays the voice of the ship. Kind of like a Majel Barrett type of voice. Anyway, there are also Star Trek sound effects pop throughout this. Strangely enough, though, as I'm getting back to my R2-D2 comment earlier, the main character, and I don't know why I didn't know this. This is the kind of thing I should have known. Being who I am, I should have known that the sound and audio effects supervisor, it's not his proper title, I messed that up, is the man who created the voice of R2-D2, Ben Burt. He's the man, when you hear a lightsaber, anytime you hear a lightsaber, that man who created that is Ben Burt. The sounds of Star Wars, pretty much a majority of, if not all of the sounds you know from Star Wars, comes from Ben Burt, and he is the voice of Wall-E. How did I not know this? I don't know why. I feel really stupid. So yeah, call me out on it. Alyssa Knight plays Eve, and so yeah, it's a beautiful little love story. It's an action adventure. It's a post-apocalyptic environmentalist tragedy. Also a story of hope, hopefully renewal. And if you watch through the credits, you get to see what happens to the characters in a sense afterwards, and to a certain degree. It doesn't really flesh out everything in detail, but gives you a little hint here and there. And there's also, by the way, stay to the very, very end. It's not a big story plot thing at all, but it's a neat little moment with the Pixar lamp. And yeah, that's unique to this film. You don't see this in any other Pixar film. So, why is this set in a post-apocalyptic Earth, and why is it? It's like, basically the concept of this is like, hey, you know what? We are on a path to destroying the Earth with our consumerism. It is basically a planet that was essentially not just America bought by a corporation, a very Walmart or say Amazon type corporation called B&L, Big and Large, which big box stores, bulk shipping, bulk ordering, that kind of stuff. When it's come to the point where the corporation realizes that it's making so much product, selling so much to people that they have no means of ever throwing it away, they decide, hey, you know what, we have the technology, let's everybody just get on a space cruise ship and head out into space while the robots we created clean things up. And as we figured out in this very early on, that it didn't go well. They don't tell it, they don't expel this out, but you get to understand what went wrong through just the world that Wall-E rolls through. And it's kind of neat that they don't just spell it out to us. And one of the things, though, they do have little video bits here and there where Wall-E is watching things. Not just a musical. I don't know why my brain is not remembering which musical it is. Hello, Dolly? No, I don't know. It's live action in a Pixar film. So that's kind of cool. And there's actual video sequences of certain actors speaking, like the president of the world, I guess. President of B&L, who owns planet Earth at this point, is played by Fred Willard in live action. He's not doing the voice of a character. He is playing an actual non-digitally animated human being in this. And you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. How did we see humans in the film later on? They are digitally animated, but they're more real life looking in the past shots. And if you look really closely in the captain's quarters, you get a little bit of a history lesson, and you get to understand that there's a bit of an evolution. This probably all builds into the whole uh, conspiracy theory that every Pixar film is connected in one way or another. This is very much sort of connects the Pixar universe with our real world universe. That doesn't look soft and smooth and Pixar-y. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to dig through this. And there's a ton of little Easter eggs. I'm not even going to bother going through all of them with you, but it's a kind of thing you want to watch closely, and you'll see lots of little Easter eggs. A113, of course, which is something that shows up in all Pixar films, and is a reference to the classroom which a lot of Pixar alumni came through when they were growing up and growing up. They were adults, but they were learning their craft. So yeah, A113, look it up. It's a humongous standard Pixar Easter egg. So yeah, this is the kind of thing that you can appreciate it on so many different levels, whether it's just the story or the ecology lesson, basically, that comes through this, and saying, hey, you know what? We are really screwing up the planet environmentally. Let's not get to this point. It might be great to have some really cool spaceships and robots take care of things for us, to the point that we just turn into lazy blobs that are constantly entertained with screens in front of our faces nonstop. We don't even ever see the real world or each other or anything, and we're constantly being sold things nonstop. And you have to understand, this thing was released not even a year after the iPhone was released, and other smartphones at that time. Already there was a commentary about how we're always lost in our devices, and that's pretty much how it rolls out for humanity, even 700 years down the line, floating in a spaceship in the middle of space, where the weather and the temperature and the sun and the moon are all created for you and your comfort while you just consume. Although that's the only problem I have with this, is that normally when something is created by a conglomerate, some commercial entity, a corporation, they expect something in return. I mean, I'm sure the people who got to go in these many ships, by the way, they all sort of paid a big price to get there. They probably had to buy a lot of really expensive things from the corporation and just throw piles of money at them. Oh, like Disney. Okay. Might have had to do that in order to get on these ships and live these lives of luxury and indifference. But normally they keep that kind of thing going because corporations tend to like making money no matter how much money they have, and no matter anybody's expense. So yeah, I didn't see anybody having to pay out a whole lot. They just kept being marketed to nonstop for no discernible profit. Maybe they'll get into that in WALL-E 2. Doubt that'll happen, but this is the kind of movie that doesn't need a sequel, and probably shouldn't. And hopefully the Disney doesn't get in its head that they need to make sequels to everything. I mean, Cars, sure, fine. Toy Story, fine. Some of them good, some of them bad. But, it's... WALL-E doesn't need a sequel. Unless they come up with something really, really good. So, lessons learned. It's entertaining, it's funny, it's beautiful, it's romantic, it's cute, it's adorable. And we're talking about robots in love. So, who's going to come up with something like that better than Pixar? Who's going to execute it? Anybody. Any studio ever who's going to execute that, tell that story better than Pixar? Nobody. And WALL-E is the proof. So let's pick tomorrow's episode. See what we got next.
86.
86. Okay, 86. Scroll. Okay. This is docu-series, I believe. I don't think it's just one thing, but it's reality docuseries kind of thing. I've never seen it, but I've seen it listed. I think it's still on here. We'll see. If not, I'll come back and we'll pick something else. But it's about cars, but not Pixar's Cars. These are real cars. This is Car SOS. So I'm gonna watch probably just one episode, and I think I'll pretty much get the gist of it. But Car SOS is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.